Did you know your German surname has a rank? It doesn't just mean something. It tells you exactly who your ancestor was. Not roughly. Exactly. A blacksmith, a judge, or a miller the whole village was afraid of. And sometimes, a king. A real one. And you have almost certainly been saying it wrong your entire life. Your ancestor would wince. Today we break down 10 of the most common German surnames, what each one means, how it actually sounds, and what it says about the blood you carry. If one of these 10 is yours, drop it in the comments, and subscribe to Kin and Kingdom so you don't lose us. I take apart one bloodline every video. Here's the thing you have to understand about German surnames. Nobody chose them. 600 years ago, a name was alive. A man was Hans who grinds the grain, Peter by the forge. Then it froze. The empire wanted order, names were locked in. And your family has carried that one rank ever since. Generation after generation, your surname is your ancestor's job, frozen in time. And some families grabbed a title they had no right to wear. König, Kaiser, King, Emperor, a commoner, with a crown in his name. How that happened, I'll tell you today. But the best part is at the very end. So we go from the bottom up. From the miller to the emperor. 10. Müller, the miller. We start with the single most common surname in Germany. Hundreds of thousands of families carry it, more than any other name in the country. Now, how you say it? Americans say Müller, Germans say Müller. Through that U sound English simply doesn't have. How does your family say it? Comment below and tell me which one is actually right. Müller means the miller. And it's not as sweet as it sounds. The mill belonged to the lord. And here was the trick. The whole village was forced to grind their grain at his mill and forced to hand the miller a cut of every sack. There was even a law for it, Malzwang, the grinding compulsion. The miller held a monopoly on the one thing nobody could live without, bread. So millers were not loved, all across Europe. In the old folk tales, the miller is a thief and a cheat who skims flour for himself. An honest miller was almost a punchline. They were kept on the edge of the village, down by the water, often counted among the dishonorable trades. If you're a Müller, your ancestor held a small iron grip on bread, and the neighbors never let him forget it. 9. Schmidt, the smith. The second most common surname in the country. How you say it? It looks terrifying, S-C-H-M-I-D-T, but it's simple. Schmidt. No Smith. Although, here's the interesting part. Thousands of families, the moment they landed in America, changed Schmidt into Smith themselves, to sound local. If you've got a Smith in your tree with German roots, that's where it came from. Comment if that's you. Schmidt means the blacksmith, the man who made everything out of iron, plows, horseshoes, nails, hinges, and also swords, spearheads, armor. And here's what that means in war. Whoever held the smiths held the army, because without the forge, a knight is unarmed. So the smith wasn't just a craftsman, he was a figure. Something almost magical clung to him. He alone spoke to fire and iron. In the village, the smith often pulled your teeth and healed your horse too. If you're a Schmidt, your ancestor armed the men who went to war. 8. Wagner, the wagon-maker. How you say it, a classic mistake. Americans say Wagner. Germans say Wagner, because in German, a W sounds like a V. Yes, even the great composer, Richard Wagner, the whole world says his name wrong. How do you say it? Wagner is the wagon maker, the Wainwright, the man who built and repaired the carts. Sounds dull, until you remember that on a battlefield, the wagon is everything. The baggage train fed the army, and in the Hussite wars, the wagons literally became a fortress. They were chained into a ring, the Wagenburg, the wagon castle, and men fought from behind them like castle walls. An army moved exactly as fast as its wagons allowed. And the man who kept them rolling was the Wagner, your ancestor, a respected, skilled trade. If this is your name, your ancestor kept an army on wheels. 7. Weber, the weaver. How you say it. Americans say Weber. Germans say Weber. Again, W like a V. Write how your family says it. Weber means the weaver, one of the biggest trades of all, with powerful, wealthy guilds. But behind this name stands one of the darkest stories on the list. Silesia, 1844. Weavers, driven into poverty by machines and middlemen, reached the breaking point. Families were literally starving. That June, they rose up and wrecked a factory owner's house. Prussian troops opened fire on unarmed people. Around 11 were killed, a child among them. The poet Heinrich Heine wrote a furious poem about it, The Silesian Weavers, a curse aimed at a Germany that shoots its own hungry. If you're a Weber, your name carries both the pride of the guild and that killing ground. 6. Bauer, the peasant. How you say it, not Bauer, the English way. In German it's Bauer, rhymes with power. How does your family say it? Bauer means peasant, a farmer of the land. Most Germans once were Bauern. Looks like the plainest name on the list, and behind it sits the largest popular uprising in Europe before the French Revolution. The Peasants' War, 1525. As many as 300,000 peasants rose at once, demanding freedom, lit up by the Reformation. Badly armed, scythes and flails against armored cavalry, they were slaughtered. Around 100,000 died. Their preacher leader, Thomas Müntzer, was caught, tortured, beheaded. And Martin Luther, terrified of the revolt, wrote a pamphlet against the murderous, thieving hordes of peasants, urging the princes to crush them without mercy. If you're a Bauer, your ancestor was the backbone of Germany, and once he very nearly burned it to the ground. 5. Schulz, the village headman. How you say it. Schulz. You'll also see Schulze, Schultheiss. If that's yours, comment where your family is from. Schulz is short for Schultheiss, literally, the one who orders the debt paid. The village headman set over the village by the Lord. He was the face of power among his own neighbors. He collected the dues, kept the peace, judged the small quarrels. Respected on one hand and eyed with suspicion on the other, because it fell to him to squeeze money for the Lord out of men just like himself. If you're a Schulz, your ancestor gave the orders and collected what others paid in tears. 4. Richter, the judge. How you say it. Americans say Richter or Richter. Germans say Richter, with that scraping ch in the back of the throat. It's a hard sound, so comment how it sounds where you're from and which way is right. Richter means the judge, and this was real power. The local Richter settled disputes, and, to put it plainly, in the serious cases, he decided who lived and who hanged. In an age when justice was brutal, the old law book, the Saxon Spiegel, trial by fire and water, the executioner on the square, the judge held another man's life in his hand. If you're a Richter, your ancestor's word was law. Plainly, literally. 3. Ritter, the knight. How you say it? Ritter, short and clean. Ritter means, quite literally, knight. Not a meaning, not a hint. The direct name of the warrior class. The imperial knights, the Reichsritter, answered to the emperor himself and held their own tiny territories. Think of Götz von Berlichingen, a real 16th century knight with an iron prosthetic hand, a mercenary and a raider. Then gunpowder arrived and armor became useless. In 1522, the knights launched their last revolt and, sadly, lost. That was the end of the Age of Steel. If your name is Ritter, your ancestor either wore the armor himself or stood close enough to a knight that the name became his. 2. König, the king. Now, the stolen crowns. How you say it. Americans say König. Germans say König, that j sound. And again the scraping ch at the end. Almost nobody outside Germany says it right. Try it in the comments, and confess how you've been saying it your whole life. König means king. And here's the question, how did a simple peasant end up with the surname King? He was no king, of course. But there are a few ways the name stuck. He played the king in an Easter play or a festival and stayed the king for the whole village. Or he won a shooting contest and earned the title Schützenkönig, King of the Marksmen. Or he served inside a royal household, and sometimes he was just a proud, domineering man the neighbors called the king, half in mockery. The name is a costume, but what a magnificent costume it is. 1. Kaiser, the emperor, and the summit. How you say it? Kaiser. And here's a fact, the word Kaiser itself is Caesar. So is the Russian Tsar. A German Kaiser and a Russian Tsar carry the very same Roman name. The name of Julius Caesar, echoing down 2,000 years. Kaiser means emperor, the same story as König, only one size larger. An emperor in a festival, or simply the champion of a contest. A servant in the household of the actual Holy Roman Emperor, or a mocking nickname for a man who carried himself like a ruler. Now think about what that title was. The Holy Roman Emperor was held to be the heir of the Roman Caesars, the highest crown in Christendom. And here it is. An ordinary family name, a family that ground grain or mended carts, carrying a name with no equal in all of Europe. If you're a Kaiser, your surname is the loudest title in European history, an entire empire folded into a single word. Close. The empire is gone. Napoleon dissolved it in 1806. The titles vanished, the kings and emperors walked off the stage, and the surnames boarded ships. Germans are the largest ancestry group in America. Millions crossed the ocean, passed through Ellis Island, and there, in the new country, the families respelled half of these names themselves. Schmidt became Smith, Müller became Miller, Weber became Weaver. But the rank survived. Your rank outlived the empire that handed it out. So, which of the 10 is yours? Drop your surname below and tell me how your family says it and how you think it's actually pronounced. The names that come up most I take apart in the next video. Subscribe to Kin and Kingdom and leave a like if you learned something new about your own blood. See you in the next one, very soon. And yes, if your name wasn't here, put it below and I'll be sure to cover it.